Your brain is secretly stopping you. You felt it before. That moment when you're about to do something that matters. And your mind just stops you. Not with logic, not with reason, with something far more subtle. A feeling, a thought, a sudden urge to check your phone, make tea, rearrange your desk. Anything but that one thing you know you should be doing. And here's what nobody tells you. That feeling isn't random. It's not laziness. It's not a lack of discipline or willpower or motivation. It's your brain protecting you from something it thinks will destroy you. But what it's protecting you from isn't real. And understanding why this happens is the difference between living the life you want and spending the rest of your existence wondering what you could have been. So let me ask you something. Have you ever planned to start something important? A project, a conversation, a career change. You've thought about it for weeks, maybe months. You know exactly what you need to do. You've told yourself today's the day, and then the day arrives, and you don't do it. Not because you forgot, not because something came up. You just didn't, and you can't explain why. You tell yourself you'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow comes, and the same thing happens, and the cycle repeats, week after week, until the idea that once felt urgent now feels like a quiet ache you've learned to ignore. Most people call this procrastination, but that's not what it is. Procrastination is the symptom. The real problem lives much deeper, and it's been with you since childhood. Let me explain. Your brain has one primary job: survival. Not success, not happiness, not fulfillment, just survival. And survival means avoiding anything that feels like a threat. The problem is your brain can't tell the difference between a real threat and a psychological one. A lion chasing you through the savannah? Threat. Someone judging you for trying something new? Also threat. Same response. Same fear. Same shutdown. This made sense thousands of years ago. If you stood out from the tribe, you risked exile. And exile meant death. So your brain evolved to keep you safe by keeping you invisible, by keeping you small. But the world changed. The threats didn't. Now you don't need to hide to survive. You need to be seen. You need to take risks. You need to fail in front of people to grow. But your brain doesn't know that. It's still running ancient software in a modern world. And every time you try to do something that exposes you, it pulls the emergency brake. Here's where it gets interesting. Your brain doesn't stop you by making you afraid. That would be too obvious. You'd recognize fear and push through it. Instead, it uses something far more effective. It makes you comfortable. Think about it. You've probably had this experience. You're about to make a decision that could change your life. Apply for that job, end that relationship, move to that city, start that business. And suddenly your current situation doesn't seem so bad anymore. You start noticing the good parts. The stability, the familiarity, the certainty. Things you complained about last week now feel acceptable, tolerable, maybe even worth keeping. This isn't you being rational. This is your brain rewriting reality to keep you exactly where you are. Psychologists call it the status quo bias, the preference for the current state of affairs. And it's one of the most powerful invisible forces shaping your life. Because here's the truth. Your brain doesn't care if you're happy. It cares if you're safe. And safe always means familiar. Even if familiar is slowly killing you. Let me give you an example. You're in a job you hate. You've known for months it's not right. The work drains you. The people exhaust you. You've started applying elsewhere. You've even had a few interviews. Then you get an offer. A better role. Better pay. Better environment. Everything you said you wanted. And suddenly you're not sure. You start thinking about your current job differently. The commute isn't that bad. Your manager isn't that difficult. The pension scheme is actually quite good. Maybe you should give it another year. What just happened? Your brain sensed change. And change, to your brain, equals danger. So it flooded you with doubt. It highlighted every risk of the new role and every benefit of staying. It made the unknown feel terrifying and the known feel precious. Not to help you make a wise decision. To stop you from making any decision at all. This happens everywhere. Relationships, friendships, cities, identities. Anything that's familiar becomes defended. Anything that's unfamiliar becomes threatening. And the longer you've been somewhere, the harder your brain fights to keep you there. Now here's the part most people miss. This mechanism doesn't just stop you from changing your external circumstances. It stops you from changing yourself. Think about the last time you tried to become someone different. More confident, more disciplined, more social, more creative. How long did it last? A week? A month? Maybe less. Because the moment you started acting differently, your brain registered it as identity threat. And it sabotaged you. Not dramatically, quietly. You started feeling like an imposter, like you were pretending, like this new version of you wasn't real. And slowly, without deciding to, you drifted back to who you were before. Because your brain has a story about who you are. Shy, lazy, anxious, unmotivated, whatever label you've accepted. And every time you act outside that story, your brain treats it like a malfunction. Something to be corrected, reset, brought back to baseline. This is why you can know exactly what you need to do and still not do it. Because knowing doesn't override identity. And your identity isn't who you think you are. It's who your brain thinks you need to be to stay safe. Let me show you how deep this goes. There's a study where researchers asked people to imagine themselves succeeding at a goal, losing weight, getting promoted, finishing a project. And they found something strange. The more vividly people imagined success, the less likely they were to actually achieve it. Why? Because imagining success gave their brain the reward without the risk. It felt good. It felt safe. And once the brain got its hit of dopamine, it lost interest in doing the actual work. Your brain doesn't want you to succeed. It wants you to feel safe. And if it can give you that feeling without you changing anything, it will. This is why motivation fades. Why plans fall apart. Why New Year's resolutions die in February. Not because you're weak. Because your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Protect you from discomfort. From uncertainty. From the terrifying possibility that you might become someone you don't recognize. So what do? You can't fight your brain. You can't override it with willpower or motivation or discipline. Those things run out. They always do. But you can work with it. First, you stop pretending comfort is neutral. It's not. Comfort is a choice. And it's the most dangerous choice you can make because it doesn't feel like one. Every time you choose what's familiar over what's meaningful, you're teaching your brain that safety matters more than growth. And your brain learns fast. Second, you recognize resistance for what it is. Not truth. Not intuition. Just noise. When your brain screams at you to stop, to wait, to reconsider, that's not insight. That's fear dressed up as reason. And the only way to prove it's lying is to move anyway. Not recklessly, just consistently. Small actions. Repeated. Until the new becomes familiar and the familiar becomes old. Third, you accept that growth will always feel wrong. Because wrong just means unfamiliar. And unfamiliar just means your brain hasn't updated its threat assessment yet. The discomfort you feel when you're changing isn't a sign you're on the wrong path. It's a sign you're on a new one. And here's the thing most people never realize. The version of you that you're trying to become already exists. Not in the future. Right now. Buried under years of safety mechanisms and defense patterns and stories you've told yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. You're not building a new person. You're excavating the one your brain buried to keep you safe. And the process of becoming that person isn't about adding things. It's about removing them. The fears, the doubts, the need for permission, the need for certainty, the need to stay small so nobody notices. Your brain will fight this. Every step. Because to your brain, small equals safe. And safe is all that matters. But you're not here to be safe. You're here to be alive. Fully. Completely. In a way that makes your brain scream and your hands shake and your heart race. Because that's what it feels like to stop hiding. So the next time you feel that pull, that urge to retreat, to wait, to stay exactly where you are, don't fight it. Just notice it. And then move anyway. Not because you're fearless. Because you've finally realized that the thing you've been running from isn't out there. It's the person you've been too afraid to become. And they're done waiting.